we're partnering with the Cornish Fairgrounds Committee in bringing this festival to Cornish this year. Last year we hosted Dirigo and Essex for one baseball game. They loved the facility and the field and asked if they could come back again this year. They contacted us and wanted to do 6 games over each day over a weekend. We said yes, we don't have a lot of manpower, but we'll do the best we can. So there's already talk of them wanting to do it again. So I think we'll have to wait and see how the weekend goes, and hopefully this is something that can continue to grow.
Probably the biggest thing is that we don't use gloves, so everything's bare hands. So you can catch a fly ball on one bounce and it's an out. And there's sort of variations of that rule. If you're a third baseman and a hard line drive comes at you, you can let it bounce off your chest, hit the ground, catch it in one bounce, and the batter is still out. Now when that happens, any runners can move up if they want. It's at their own risk. It's not like baseball. If you catch a fly ball, you have to tag up and stuff like that. Although if you do catch the ball in the air, you still do need to tag up. Played in Old Orchard Beach last year. It was actually a pretty famous event. We played the Dirigo Baseball Club, whose game is playing right behind us now, and the CBS Evening News came up and actually filmed the game and made like a 4-minute episode out of it that they used at the end of a newscast.
Very social before and after the games. We kind of revolve around the game itself, and then drinks or just hanging out after. We usually, if a game lasts 2 hours, we're usually at the field for 4. So it's just very social just by nature of how we do everything.
For us, there's 3 main components. Part of it is the competition. We do enjoy playing. Most of us are older. Like our team, probably the average age is like mid to late 50s. So the competition, it's different than old man softball that a lot of us play. But just as important is the historical aspect of it. Baseball, vintage baseball or baseball really began around the Civil War era. So we have gone to events in Gettysburg, Kentucky. We played on the grounds of President Andrew Jackson. So there's a real historical aspect to it. And then finally social. We've played most of the teams that are in this tournament at different times. We're friends. We keep in touch. We look forward to these events to see people we haven't seen in a while. It's a lot of fun.
I just think it's a shout out to history. It just kind of takes you back and remembers the roots of where baseball started, and it's just a nice experience for like family and friends to just come out and hang out together. And it's very inexpensive versus a baseball game. Now you go to a Sox game or minor league game, you can get in here for like $5 and hang out all day. It's not bad, right?
Depending on the year you're playing, the rules are different. Right now we're playing 1864, which is you can catch the ball on one bounce for an out, so that's anywhere. After we play 1864 because in 65 they changed. In fact, another year we play is 1873 where you have to catch it on the fly except for foul balls, which you can catch on one bounce. And things change every year, but those are the big ones. You can catch the ball on one bounce and no gloves. And besides that, it's basically baseball. I've been playing since I was 16. This is the team I'm on is the team my dad started. So he started in 2001, and I was 13 or something like that. And I didn't play, but I was the bat boy, and then I would be a pinch runner for a little bit, and then by the time I was 16, I was playing. So I'm 23 now, and I don't know if I did the math right, but I'm 23 now, and so yeah, I've been playing since I was 16.
This is my, I think, 7th or 8th year of being a scorekeeper. I've always been interested in the history of baseball, but 19th century baseball is something I didn't know that much about. And back in about 2010, I knew that I learned about the Neshannock, and I asked about the possibility of being a scorekeeper because I'm a little bit on the old side to play, so I got started that way.
I think it's really cool the history of it is very cool, and it's cool to play competitive games with just a different kind of like style to it. Like it's like we're playing competitive games, but yet still it's like there's such a much cooler element to it because we're playing like they did 100 years ago. And I think it's just way more interesting than like playing softball or anything like that, because we get to travel, we play in like old historic towns, like it's like there's this really cool sense of time travel to it, and there's an educational aspect to it. And
you not only have to learn the rules of the game, you also have to learn the rules of scorekeeping in the 19th century because they're very different. You learn the rules of the game by listening to the guys on the team, reading the rule book. Learning the rules of scoring, you've got to go back and read some of the original material by the first scorekeepers, Henry Chadwick in particular. What vintage baseball does is it gives everyone who's either participates in it or watches it a sense of what the game was like. You learn a lot, and your most important source of historical information is always contemporary source material, archival material, and things like that. But by watching people recreate it, you learn other things. So it's an added dimension to an added way of learning. We play up and down the East Coast. The major events that we play in are, there's an annual festival in Gettysburg where we play every year. There's a national tournament in Rochester where we play usually every other year. And we make a trip to this is the first time in Maine, but we've been to the Boston area a number of times.
Was a doctor in New York City from 1840 till he retired in 1865, and from 1845 to 1862 he was a member of the New York Knickerbocker Baseball Club, and he was president for 6 years. He also provided over the first 3 conventions to standardize the rules of the game. As the number of teams were added in New York City, they would have yet another convention because everybody wanted to play by the same rules. He created the position of shortstop in 1849 and perfected it and developed it. He made all the balls for his team by hand, and he supervised the manufacture of all the bats, because none of these products were available commercially in the city, so you had to make them yourself. He also, in addition to shortstop, he was the one who set the bases at 90 feet. It was his calculation to set the bases at 90 feet, and that he did in 1857. He also advocated for 9 men and 9 innings of play, and that happened at the convention of 1858. And earlier this year it was announced that his handwritten rules of baseball from 1857 had been discovered. The family did not own it, but they went on sale at auction, and at the end of April this year, Doc's 1857 Laws of Baseball, along with the other documents that were copies of it, sold for $3.26 million. It was the 3rd highest for any piece of sports memorabilia and 2nd highest for baseball memorabilia. We have an online petition on our website, which is docadamsbaseball.org, to get him into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He made the ballot last year, which is the pre-integration era ballot at the Hall of Fame, for those players prior to 1942, 1945, when Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. He needed 12 votes, he got 10, so we lost by 2 votes. But he got more votes than anybody else on the ballot, so that was a very big deal. So we're still trying to get him enough interest and publicity so that he makes the ballot again in 2018 and then subsequently gets voted in.
I'm an avid baseball fan, but I'm also a baseball player. I played in an over 45 league, and I saw this advertised. I saw an article in the paper, and I said, I have to play this. I have to get in touch with the original rules of the game and play it as it was conceived. So I joined the team in 2007 and been playing ever since. We were formed in 2006. It was based, came from a Civil War reenactment. A couple men who were Civil War reenactors decided to begin to play baseball because baseball actually really came about during the Civil War. The soldiers played the game, and then when the war ended, they all went back to their hometowns and took the game with them. And that's in the 1865 and on, it spread like crazy through the country. So there was a tight interaction between the Civil War soldiers and the actual baseball game itself. So we've been playing actively since 2007. 2016 now has been 9 years for me, and it's an absolute blast. People who watch baseball, people who play it, normally they start playing when they're 7 or 8 years old, so they know the sport. It's America's pastime. And some people take it up to a very high level, but everybody has played baseball. And the fascination with the vintage baseball is to watch it and see how it's played and how it was originally conceived. And the rules change, and playing barehanded, different rules of where the ball's in play, not bouncing. And so it's fascinating. So really the whole fan base, whether you're a player or just a fan that comes out, you've played baseball, you know baseball, and now you're seeing how it was played in its original form.